Hello guys, welcome to a new Get Rekt gaming news video. Yet again, I have some spicy news for you guys today. There might be a new Nintendo Switch, at least a next-gen Nintendo console coming our way, because we have some news from job listings from the Pokemon company. We'll talk all about that in today's video. And I have a release date window for Diablo 4 and maybe some interesting rumors towards Starfield. So let's get on with this news. Sit back, relax, enjoy, take a beverage, and let's get on with the news. So the first thing we're going to talk about is some Nintendo news. Normally I don't really cover Nintendo that much on my channel. I want to be honest, but there just hasn't been a lot of Nintendo news the last few months. I'm really hyped for the next Zelda game, Tears of the Kingdom, amazing stuff. I talked about that in the past. I'm right now playing Bayonetta 3, really cool game. I actually have made videos about Nintendo, quite a few. Normally, I'm also a big fan of Pokemon. I have a friend of mine, Ruffle Rowlet. Take a look at his channel, he's an awesome dude. Normally when Pokemon news comes around or something like that, I don't like to make content on that because I have friends who do that stuff and I find that a bit weird to get into their territory, shall I say. But now it's more not just only Pokemon, but also next gen Switch news in general. So I found this pretty important to talk about because I am a big Nintendo fan. Now there's basically this job listing that's been found, I think on Game Freak's website for hiring people, and there is a article I want to go over. Nintendo Soup has a article. I've never seen their website, find it a funny name, but they have a article on this news. Rumor: Pokemon's Creatures Inc. publishes R&D job listing for next-gen hardware. With the release of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet just over the horizon, a new rumor has surfaced which could hint at what's next for the franchise. This rumor comes through a job listing from Creatures Inc., one of the three companies responsible for the Pokemon series. This job listing is for a 3D character modeler, which is in line with the primary work Creatures contributes to Pokemon. Most notably, however, is that the job listing mentions research and development for next-gen hardware as one of the role main responsibilities, as well as Unity and Unreal Engine as some of the tools they are expected to use. What does this job listing actually say? I have a picture of that. Product service overview, research and development for other next generation hardware, tools used, game engine, Unity and Unreal Engine. Don't get me wrong, I think there isn't really a Pokemon game made in Unreal Engine, so this is pretty interesting. I believe, I could be wrong, but Unity Engine is, I think, being used for Shining Pearl and Brilliant Diamond, the remakes. So it could be that maybe they are going to move over engine in general for these games, which would be a pretty good move, to be honest, because these engines are just easier to use. You can hire more people for Unreal Engine. Maybe the games can get a little bit faster made. Now they are already pretty fast made because you get a Pokemon game every year. Development time for these games is already pretty short. That's not the issue. But it's really interesting that they mention next-gen hardware, because we only know of the Switch, of course. There have been rumors in the past that I've talked about for a Nintendo Switch Pro. These rumors basically were going to a dead end and we didn't hear anything more. I talked a bit in the past about Nintendo spending a lot of more money on resources for building consoles. It was in their financial reports that they had more spending towards materials, and I found that very weird, even more than double than the previous year. I think it was this year or last year that was, and that screams to me like an actual new console, or like a Switch Pro, like a Switch, like a new actual Switch, like a Switch 2 or something. Normally Nintendo doesn't do actual second versions of their main consoles. You could maybe argue from the Wii to the Wii U, even though the Wii U was pretty different in itself. Most of the time, Nintendo likes to make their own new hardware is a standalone thing. But the Switch, to be honest, has been so successful and really good in sales. I wouldn't be surprised if they were actually going to change that strategy now up. Like, hey, we basically have the perfect console factor form. We have handheld gaming and we have console gaming both in one device. Why should we change that, to be honest? And it makes the Switch very unique. I don't really know how they could change up the console, to be honest, to something else. Nintendo is very unique though. They could easily make something else, but to be honest, if I were them, I would stay with the Switch formula because it does a very good job. Just make more powerful hardware. We are getting phones that are basically almost stronger now than the Switch. Make a new Switch that's far stronger, maybe that has capabilities of 4K gaming on a dock and 1080p on handheld. I've been rattling a lot. Let's get over the rest of the article. In theory, this could be a job listing in preparation for the next installment of the Pokemon mainline games, which will likely be for Nintendo's next console after the Switch. For now though, this remains merely speculation and it will likely be a few years before we hear anything concrete on that front. The fact that this mentions next-gen hardware is pretty interesting to me. And we are already now at the life cycle for the Switch. We are entering, I think, the 6th year, I could be wrong, for the Nintendo Switch. And we are getting now at the end of the generation for that console, shall I say. But there are still a lot of big games, in my opinion, that are not there. There isn't really a new Mario game like Odyssey or actually Metroid. Metroid 4 Prime, where is that game? There are still games that we, in my opinion, are missing. And I think it's a better idea if they are thinking about a actual Switch follow-up with a more powerful hardware, but still keeping this what the Switch is, being handheld and being a console. I think that's the best route that they can take. To be honest, they don't really have to change up the whole formula. It would be weird if they would announce like next year, here is the new Nintendo console that is only virtual reality or something, like a totally new thing again from Nintendo. That doesn't make any sense and isn't, for instance, backwards compatible with the previous library. They should just, in my opinion, stay with the Switch idea, shall I say. If I hear anything more towards a new Switch, I will of course be the first one to let you guys know. Or about any other Nintendo game, Tears of the Kingdom, Metroid Prime 4. If I hear anything of these big games, I will of course let you guys know. And then the next thing I want to talk about is a release window for Diablo 4 and some really weird rumors for Starfield. Now, I have a article on Insider Gaming I want to take a look at, because Diablo 4 might be releasing around April next year. Let's talk about that. Diablo 4 is to launch in April 2023, it's claimed. Xbox era Nick Baker and Windows Central Jess Gordon have claimed that Diablo 4 is set to release in April 2023. According to both Baker's and Gordon's insider sources, the game is set to be revealed at the Game Awards in December 2022. Diablo 4 is slated for a 2023 release and a launch toward the end of Activision Blizzard's fiscal year could make a lot of sense for the company. Rumors appearing over the summer revealed that Diablo 4 would be announced at the Game Awards, originally leaking via the classic WoW subreddit. Both Xbox era and Windows Central report that Blizzard is planning a sizable marketing blitz for Diablo 4, with its marketing starting at the Game Awards. In addition, Windows Central reports that the pre-order should open at the event, which could include various digital editions and premium physical collector's editions with various goodies for hardcore fans. a April release date for Diablo 4 makes a lot of sense in my opinion. The announcement already is some time ago, so this game has been in development for a long time. I'm not personally a big fan of Blizzard, but I thought my audience might be, so that's why I'm covering this. I am actually interested in the franchise because it's the only single-player narrative game Blizzard does. The rest is all multiplayer stuff like World of Warcraft, Overwatch. I like Overwatch, I've played that, but Overwatch 2 isn't really my thing. Diablo is that only game that can scratch like a good narrative itch with me, so I will follow how the game does, some reviews, stuff like that. I do own actually Diablo 3, but I've never played it. It's still in my backlog. Usually I'm not too fond of the top-down perspective. I'm open to it, but I will play it when I when I have the time, I suppose. What I also wanted to talk about is some Starfield stuff. And in the article they mentioned especially Jez Corden from Windows Central having this rumor. And he also did his podcast. And he basically said there, I will probably show it for you guys, a little snippet of it.
Yes, National Space Day is May 5th, 2023. And I've seen people float that as a potential release date of Starfield. How would you feel about that? Does that kind of fit into, like, you know, National Space Day, 5/3? What is...
I'm just going to put this out there. I've been hearing some wild rumors about Starfield's launch day.
Oh, really?
I'm not gonna repeat them because they are wild.
Like,
but if
good wild, bad wild, like give us
wild,
good wild, like so sooner than people think, or
I ain't gonna go into any details on this because they are so wild. I don't want to put that out there. But if something wild happens with Starfield's launch date, you'll know that you heard it here first. But I honestly I don't believe it right now.
He heard some wild Starfield release date rumors. Now, of course, keep it all in mind. These are all rumors. Also, the Diablo one is a rumor. They can be fake. Take it all with a big grain of salt, of course. But he's hearing these wild release date rumors for Starfield. And I was thinking, maybe it's releasing sooner than we think. Now, we did had Jason Schreier's report on the game that it would be the next Cyberpunk, which is really bad with lots of bugs and stuff like that, if it would have been released this year in November. But I've always found it weird that Todd Howard, that Todd Howard was basically like, we wrote this release date in ink. That's literally his own words, meaning he was very sure of it. And I don't know if there's some sort of disconnect between Todd and the developers in some way, but that might lead to maybe a release date that is not too far off from now. And I was thinking, it is National Space Day around May 5th. And it also got thrown into the podcast when they were talking. And I think Todd Howard mentioned Space Day one day in like an interview. And I was thinking like, maybe that's a good like release date for Starfield, because Todd Howard always likes these magical release dates that he can switch around with same numbers. And I will take a look at my PC at the calendar, and when I go to May 5th is on a Friday. That's usually when games tend to release, because that's just the new trend that games release on Friday and people have the time to play games in the weekend. That will be a very cool day to drop this game on National Space Day on May. Now, there was another interview, an Xbox interview, where they said that Redfall would release first before Starfield, which I find disappointing, but oh well. And what I hope, this is just my own speculation, is that Redfall releases in March at the earliest, and they would have to announce now the release date very soon, because it needs marketing time. And then hopefully Starfield can maybe go to May or April, even though there is this like small window. The problem I have with this whole Starfield might be a delayed for a whole year theory, because a lot of people are mentioning that maybe Starfield is delayed for a whole year. You have to keep in mind, there are all other Xbox exclusives that need marketing time and show it off time around the E3 period next year. Like Hellblade 2, that game is almost done. They need to push that out the door, and that's probably going to release at the end of next year. And of course, Avowed is in that same situation, probably. So they need marketing time for those big exclusives that can probably release around the end of 2023. Starfield has to come out at some point. And I think May 5th makes a lot of sense. That's just my own theory on it, so don't quote me on it, that's the truth. So that's all the stuff I have for today's video. What do you guys think of the next Nintendo Switch? Do you think it's a real thing, like next gen version or a pro version? Let me know in the comment section down below. Are you guys hyped for the next Pokemon games as well? Let me know. And do you guys think Starfield will be released? Is it indeed maybe around the May period? Or do you guys think it's going to be released all at the end of 2023? Let me know in the comment section down below. Let's have a discussion, that would be awesome. Thank you guys for watching. As always, like this video, that would be amazing. Subscribe also, that would be awesome. Visit my social media in the description down below. And I will see you guys in the next Get Rekt Gaming news video. Bye bye.